Dan's a fantastic man. He really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
What's going on, everybody? This is Dan French. This is another French Workbench podcast. We're starting off here on a Tuesday, starting a little bit late, but we're still here. And we got a full studio again, as we always do. And, if you guys haven't looked at our channel, we have a lot of good content and good information out there. This channel is the most real and behind-the-scenes information regarding real estate and financing, educating through job experience, here in Las Vegas. And I think that's important because people a lot of times don't get the right information or the real information, and we're trying to provide that. In studio, I have my friend, and he's also a co-host, if you want to call him, Mr. Mike Keeler.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy? How are you, man?
Living the American dream, man.
Yeah.
Life is awesome.
Life is awesome, man. How you been? I
had tacos for dinner, so I'm really good. Yes.
I don't know about that. Tony, I think I would move over just a little bit, man. He had tacos.
Tacos not related, no beans.
Okay.
We're good.
We also have Mr. Tony Gutierrez here. He's a credit services, right?
Yeah,
and
credit advocate.
Yeah, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Much everything's good,
Good. So what's going on with you today, man? Anything new? Anything happening in the market?
No.
You just
still staying
are
steady.
you killing it out there? You getting people to go in with you and try to get some credit help? I mean,
definitely. It's always busy.
You go with a lot of you go market a lot of realtors and lenders, right? That's part of what you do, right?
That's one of the biggest people we usually help her. Lenders, realtors, home builders. That's usually the people that bring business over to us.
Absolutely, man. Also, Sandy Geddes, she's back. She's the not the loan guru. She's the home guru.
Who's the loan guru?
Sandy's the home guru. No, yeah. Sandy's back. She's here. And what's going on with you today, Sandy? How's things going?
Things are good. I'm definitely thinking tacos. Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
Now that you said that.
Whoa, yeah.
Dude, you know what I always think about Taco Tuesday? It's crazy because I was always somebody that when I grew up, my family would go and we would take advantage of those big opportunities, right, with food.
Yeah.
It's like we had these places where you can get like 10 tacos, I was
Taco
at
Bell.
Taco Bell. Yeah, right.
I don't think those count.
No, they don't
I'm not
count,
above
man.
Taco Bell at all.
No. But I used to work at a place called Baker's in California, and I was. Have you been there, Mike?
Yes.
You've been there. What did you think, Mike?
It was great when I was in college, and 2 a.m. I'm really hungry.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is I used to eat there, and the food was quality, man. It was like some of the best food you can get as far as fast food.
Yeah.
They didn't try to go, cheap on trying to get and mass produce.
How about Noggles? Did you go to Noggles?
Oh, yeah, man. Noggles was the place, dude.
That was awesome.
That was, how long?
They're bringing them back.
Noggles, they're bringing them back, really?
They've got a few Noggles in California now.
Wow. Yeah, I remember Noggles, man. I was always like one of those. I was real young when they were around. It wasn't. I mean, they went away for a while, right?
Well, Taco Bell bought them out. Or no, I'm sorry, Del Taco bought them out.
Del Taco bought them out, yeah.
But Noggles has a pretty good following in Southern California, so they decided to bring a few back.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, too, man, they use that if they smoke a lot of, you know what? It's Taco Tuesday, man. They got to take advantage.
There you go. That's right.
So we have a lot of good information today. We're going to talk first about all odds are stacked against home buyers in this Las Vegas market. Apparently last year, and they said the market will, have a collapse or crash or have a recession. Not a 70% chance back in August of 2020. So we're going to talk about how investors are coming in here and buying up a lot of these properties in hopes that properties are going to get so high that, buyers are not going to be able to maybe come in and afford, especially first-time home buyers, are not going to be able to come in and afford a home. And so that's something to look at. Rents, that could be a problem, right? People want to be lifetime renters. Potentially because they can't buy a home.
Renters.
Right?
Yeah.
But they're priced out now.
Yeah, they're priced out now, right? Mm-hmm. And also we're going to talk today about lumber costs going down, but yet the materials and the overall cost for builders continues to soar. And we're going to talk a little bit about taxes. We're going to do a market update. So we got a full show to talk about here. But I first want to talk about a couple of things that's going on here locally here in Las Vegas. Did you guys see that there was a person that won $292,000 over at the South Point? Did you see that, Mike?
Well, yeah, I rushed over, tried to give her my business card. She needs a financial advisor. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
Did she connect?
Security gave me this thing called TRO. I don't know what it means, but apparently I'm not supposed to show up there anymore. Yeah.
So did you hear about that? No?
No, this is the first time. Oh, I heard about it earlier today.
Did you hear about it
Yeah.
earlier today?
Yeah, $292,374.31.
Where was she from,
And 31 cents.
Where was she from?
Virginia.
Wow, she was from Virginia. See, it's always these out of state. I talked to my mom about this earlier. It's always the out of state people. Are they doing this because they want people to say, "Hey, I can go back to my state," or they put it in the news that out of state buyers come, everybody's gonna win type of thing, and everybody's like, "Man, I want my share," right? What do you think, Sandy?
Yeah, didn't someone just win at the Venetian also from
Did they really?
California? Yeah.
How much did
back
they
in
hit?
March?
How much did they hit on that?
Like 400,000.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
400,000.
Yeah.
That's
But-
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the Wheel of Fortune, so that's one of those.
They always hit the Wheel of Fortune, right?
Yeah. Well, that one is connected with all the casinos. So everybody who's got a Wheel of Fortune machine, they're all connected together, and they have them at the airport. Oh, it's so annoying when you're sitting there waiting for your flight and you hear wheel.
Yeah. Hey, but you know what? It's kind of catchy, man. I walk in and I almost want to put my money in there, don't you? I mean, I feel like
that's what it's designed to do.
It's like my hands in my pocket. I'm like, I could just throw a 20 in there.
They've got-
what happens if something hits?
The people who design these machines are really good at separating you from your money.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't someone hit at the airport not too long ago?
Yeah, they
Maybe
hit
a
at the
year-
airport in Hawaii, I think, Honolulu or somewhere
No,
like
in
that.
Vegas.
No. I think they were going back.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
to
I'm
Hawaii.
sorry. Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
always these out-of-state people that are hitting this money. I don't know if it's a coincidence. Maybe it is. I'm not sure,
I
but
think they just play more than
maybe.
people here.
But I mean, think about it. I mean, that's a big headliner, right? I mean,
Yeah,
look,
definitely.
I hit here. If you're in the airport, you hit there. So I don't know. I think it's sometimes. Do you think the machines are rigged?
No, not I mean, but I think that more people of out of state are actually hitting the machines because that's mostly people who are there. Us locals very rarely go into the casinos.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them play the poker machines and things like that where you've actually got better odds.
Well, I mean, it's like, everybody knows it's the probability of you winning that much money is very slim. But
They don't
it's just
build big, pretty buildings
no,
on winners.
Not at all, man. And that's the thing. So people got to realize that. But still, why do you never hear about somebody local hitting? Like, why does nobody ever like, hey, I went into a place over here and I just hit
see ads for station casinos. So-and-so won $2,500.
Yeah.
But those are
2,500.
local casinos.
And that's $2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, too, let's segue to the drought.
Oh.
What's going on, man? We got water?
We got
Do
We're
we have
starting
water?
to
There
lose
is
water.
honestly nothing better than a desert storm. I don't know if you guys are agreeing in that, but it's so nice to
I love the rain.
hear and smell it.
Yeah.
And you what?
During winter,
Did
it
you
was
flood?
well, no. During
Well-
winter, it was real nice. Last night, it was hot. It was humid. Temperatures didn't
was-
come
oh,
down. It did not feel nice, and it's happened 2 nights in a row. I think.
Yeah.
Two
Yeah, but
nights-
did we have a winter?
Sunday and
Because I don't
No.
remember
It was
seeing.
very mild,
I
yeah.
mean, think about it like this: we got a drought going on, and I'm going to tell you, it could affect home buyers for sure, or people trying to move here because all of our water. I think it goes from there's Colorado that gets it,
Yep.
right, and then there's also Arizona, and I think a huge part of it goes to California,
Yeah.
and the aqueduct that's taking it to those states. They're starting to dry up, and there's a big problem. It goes down to Mexico, but by the time it gets to Mexicali, there's nothing left. It's just bare bones, right? So,
Sorry, Mexico.
we have a problem. I mean, we have a serious issue that we need to look at here. What do you guys think? I mean, this is not going to go away anytime soon.
Interestingly enough, each time you flush the toilet, it gets filtered and goes back into Lake Mead. And guess what? We get a credit for putting that water back into Lake Mead.
Yeah.
So my dad always kind of kids me for living in Las Vegas, living in the desert.
Right.
And I say, well, you're in Southern California. When I flush the toilet, you're drinking it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have a lot of people that live here in Vegas?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah, most of my family lives here.
Okay, and so they've probably seen the decrease in the water, right, over the last 10 years.
Oh,
It's
definitely.
big.
Lake Mead has gone down a whole lot.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
And so it's a little worrisome. I think I look at it. I mean, are we going to survive? I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
I've had clients
I don't know.
that's one of their biggest objections is
Right?
they don't know if they want to move here because they're like, well, what if you run out of water? I'm
Well, I
like,
think if you cut the states off, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but you cut the states off, and then we just hoard the water.
Yeah.
You'd probably be fine.
We'll make an agreement between Colorado or Denver.
Yeah.
And Colorado, and then make sure that we get our water. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we could just shut it off like Arizona does for Mexico.
Yeah, right.
So they only get a trickle.
So if you guys have not subscribed, or if you guys have any questions about anything, you have subscribed.
Yes.
Good job, Mike. You subscribed. Did you
just subscribed today.
Look at this, man.
Everybody else needs to subscribe.
I haven't
too, though.
subscribed though. So I just
You're here every day, so
Right,
I mean
am.
that's like subscribing. I think.
leave some comments in the comment section, guys. Also, please like this channel. You know, we need some support. Give some love to this channel. We need some support. And you know, we got Sandy over here pushing this out on Instagram. We're streaming live on all platforms. We're streaming live here from Las Vegas. So we got a lot of good information today. So we're going to go right into it.
Well, hey, there was a comment on last week's show from Wendy Y.
Let's talk about that.
And she was wondering, are realtors culpable for the market madness by stressing the clean offer to buyers?
I see.
And what, Sandy, the clean offer, is that just no contingencies? You know, I'm not contingent on selling my house and
No
passing appraisals. So
Yeah.
it's just, you know,
Elaborate on that,
amount,
Sandy.
cash.
What is that? What is that? What is a clean
That-
offer for somebody out there that doesn't know what that is?
Clean offer is going to be no contingencies, so you're not trying to sell your house in order to move, and essentially waiving the appraisal contingency. So, like I said last week on the show, we had just submitted an offer, and unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You did submit an offer, yeah.
We
Well, you
did.
said unfortunately.
Well, we didn't want to waive the appraisal contingency
Sure,
because
okay.
we know the house is not going to appraise for what they're asking.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of, obviously I'm a realtor, so I did a lot of research and came back with what we thought was a fair offer. And someone came in and waived it clear and then went just above what we submitted. So
Sure.
they ended up getting it. We'll see if they can cover the spread, because I don't know if people are aware, when they have a loan, I know you
Sure.
can elaborate on that, but it comes down to what your loan is going to be, what the appraised value is.
Yeah.
So if you submit an offer for higher than that and it only appraises for a certain amount, you're going to be paying out of pocket that amount. So my husband, he did not feel comfortable, couldn't sleep at night if he knew he was going to be paying $80,000 more than the house was worth.
Well, and that
So-
sleep factor is kind of important.
Yeah, I would rather keep the peace in that aspect.
Right. I think you look at the situation though, and I think a lot of people say, well, what entails a clean offer? Okay, we talked about no appraisal contingency. Also, it's not really asking for any closing costs on the seller side, and then it's giving them what they want. And in some cases, it's the highest and best. And I think when when you look at that whole process, it's really what she's saying, and Wendy is bringing up a point is, because real estate agents are allowing this, or saying, you know what, not really allowing it, but pushing it, because obviously everybody wants to get the result of getting a home and getting paid. We all know this, but
Sure.
Is it a contribution of many realtors kind of saying, you know what, this is the market we're in, so we're going to keep pushing it? Unfortunately, you kind of have to, they kind of roll with the punches, right? As
Yeah.
far as a realtor, because if you're not going to do that or represent your client that way, then they potentially won't get a home. Is that not right?
We didn't. So from a buyer's agent side, we do kind of have to build that in. You know,
Right.
you and I have had that situation from
Absolutely.
you being my, loan officer.
Yeah.
And then, you have to build it in and make the client aware of that's the situation. But as a seller's agent, maybe they are culpable. Maybe they're the ones that are kind of encouraging their sellers to push for top dollar.
Well, I think it's like this. They're representing two sides usually. I mean, you could represent the seller and the buyer, but you're
Yeah.
representing both sides. You have one selling agent typically and one buyer's agent. The seller side of it, like you're saying, is trying to get the most out of the deal. So they're driving that price and they're saying, guess what? We're just going to take whatever we can get as far as the highest we get. We're not even going to look at something even at list price, because they're just trying to get maximum dollar. The problem is that if you're a buyer out there and you're in a position where you can only afford so much, it's driving that market. Eventually it's going to drive those, in which it already starting to do, those first-time home buyers, or even home buyers in general. A lot of them, the person that's trying to buy a typical, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in a decent location, it's driving them out of that market, I think, a lot. So
Well, Dan, I think something you need to keep in mind is why are they trying to get top dollar? And that's because people are demanding top dollar.
Correct.
The sellers are demanding it. And, they want to get as much as they can. If you really think about it, the difference in commission for that selling agent between, 400,000 and 425 really is
Super
just
minimal.
it's a very small percentage. And so they're not doing it for the money. They are doing it because that's what their clients want.
Do you see the same thing happening with you? I mean, you talk to a lot of realtors and you talk to a lot of lenders, right? I mean, you're constantly marketing people. What do you see out there?
Well, it's definitely making it harder for people to buy. I mean, if like you're saying, people are only getting appraised for say 380, but then they're putting it up or they're trying to get 400. That person, it either one doesn't have that money, doesn't have that 20 grand, or I mean, they don't want to pay that extra 20 grand, which it's running people into not being able to purchase homes.
Yeah. Mike, was there more of a question to Wendy, or was that pretty much summing it up?
That was it.
Because
She's
I
kind of
think
asking, is it the fault of the agents?
Well, it's raising the home value prices for neighborhoods. So
It certainly is.
yeah, so I mean, we were just looking in that neighborhood at the values of the homes, just to kind of compare. And because homes are being sold for higher amounts than what the appraised value is, that means it's recording for that much. That means that's
The comps are going up.
The comps are going up. So
I think it's about what somebody's willing to pay for, unfortunately, because, and I get her point though. You have to look at the point of realtors. Sometimes people look at realtors like they're trying to, everybody is. They're trying to maximize their profit, right? They're trying to maybe get the most
They're
they can.
trying to get another sale.
Right. They're trying to get another sale. They got to put food on the table. We get it. I think and then there's that level of, well, is somebody greedy, right?
Yeah.
Or are they too greedy?
we can only present as much information as we can to the seller. They establish what the list price is. So
Right.
And
So it could
I think somebody who's representing a buyer is actually trying to do the best job to get the buyer to win.
Yes.
And they're given the best information. And, if you can afford it, waive these contingencies or do a clean offer. It's crazy.
Yeah,
But-
I think a lot of people too, they feel like maybe they're losing their opportunity or they're losing their rights, I guess, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
as putting an offer in. Because if you're coming in as a buyer, it's like, well, you have no rights, unfortunately. I mean, you do, but the seller's saying, I'm taking your rights away. And then it's like, well, is the realtor, the buyer's agent, going to allow that? Are they going to just stand for that? And how much are you fighting for me, right? Is
Yeah.
that what it is?
I think so, but just like you're saying, how much is that home worth to you? And I kind of touched on it last week's show. What is the cost versus value? Is this a home that you're gonna start your family in? Like for me, that backyard was that unicorn backyard, one that I haven't even seen in Vegas at that
Right.
price.
Right.
And I probably would have paid $100,000 more if I could,
Yeah.
just to secure the deal. But
Well, and that is it because of this market though? And I think it comes back to, right? I mean, it's like, well, would I do that in a market 5 years ago? Would I be willing to go that high? Would I be willing to just take it to the fullest extent of trying to get this house because I got to get mine, and that's maybe what people are thinking is maybe I'm going to do things that I normally don't do. And again, writing a clean offer and looking at agents and telling agents that, they're the ones that should be responsible. I don't know if they're responsible, but there's two sides of it. There's only so much a buyer's agent can do to represent their client and say, hey, if you want the house, I would say it's a seller's market, right? So if it's a seller's
Definitely.
market, the seller's going to have a little bit more say so. I hate to say that, but
Yeah.
they really are. And
But-
you got to kind of go with what they're telling you, unfortunately, because if you don't, let's say you're like, hey, I'm standing up to this. I'm not going to do this. Agents, you should know this and you should
did.
get this. And you did.
Yeah.
And guess what? Somebody behind you is going, take me,
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
ready,
exactly
take me,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Tell me your story.
that was it. We submitted an offer that we thought was fair and that he was comfortable with. And even after I explained we were going to have to waive the appraisal to even be considered in this, to get our offer accepted, he was still like, I can't do that.
And there's
And
nothing
even if
there's
we-
nothing wrong with that. Like
No,
if you
no.
if you can't see that and say, man, I can just justify paying this.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. But
Yeah. But if we can work it into, because, selling our house, obviously we're going to get top dollar. So that kind of is something to consider as well. You know, you're going to have equity in the home that you're selling.
Right.
And then you can roll that into the new home.
Right.
So that was something I tried explaining to him. He looks at it more objectively, like, I can't justify, you know, being 80 grand out of pocket for a home that's only worth 640. But that, as my job, being a buyer's agent, I have to present possibilities. So I literally tell people, I'm like, well, I don't have a crystal ball, but you can see trends that resale value is going to continue to rise. Like, just from the beginning of this year alone, it's gone up, like 2-3%, and it's continuing to,
it's continuing to go.
I had a client buy a house in February, and they already have $15,000 in equity in just a couple months. You know, so it's if you think it's going to crash anytime soon.
Well, I think it's the market, and the sellers are taking advantage of the market, the way things are right now.
Definitely.
They're definitely trying to get rid of the houses, and they're asking for more. And if, like you said, if one person doesn't pay it, somebody else will come and pay it. I was speaking to a loan officer last week. I think it was either Friday or Thursday. She said a guy paid 70 grand, or they put in an offer over 70 grand over what the house was.
The list price?
Correct.
What?
And they made him sign a paper saying that if he backed out of it, he was going to lose 10 grand on it. Sure. So there's a special paper that he had to sign.
Well, the earnest money as well.
It was the earnest money, and then some other paper saying that if he backed out of that deal, he was going to lose that 10 grand. I mean, in 10 grand.
It's a lot of money.
Word is something, but 10 grand actually says something.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And so, I mean, you look at the situation right now that we're under, and we really don't have that balancing act where it says this is enough for this person versus it's too much for this person. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people out there that may have different resources, but also maybe they're in a different position, right? Yeah. Maybe somebody's living with family, or they're renting a place and they don't necessarily need to buy a home right away, versus somebody that's coming out of state, which is a lot of our buyers that are probably a little bit more gung-ho on, like, I got to get into a house.
Yeah.
What do I got to do? Sandy, take me where I need to go, right?
Right. And even my sister, you know, she's thinking about moving out here, and we're kind of needing some of Mike's advice on if we should invest in either, you know, do something with funds, like mutual funds, or go with putting it into something like an investment property.
Sure.
So I'm trying to get her on that side. Sorry, Mike. But
well, no, I mean, that's a great question, is, you know, how do you invest the money? You know, obviously one thing that is a good question, you know, what kind of length of time are we investing it for?
Yeah.
You know, if it's a long term, 5 or 10 years, then real estate's a fine place.
That's long term?
I do have a question for everyone here, though.
Go ahead.
Do you mix business with family?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
No.
I was like, what are you doing?
No.
Do I mix business with family? That's a good question. You know what? A lot of times I do, but it's more of my, I would say my immediate family, because, look, at the end of the day, you want the best for your family. But as you start getting further out, let's say distant cousins and uncles and aunts, and how close are you really to them? And I think there's a situation where you can actually develop a bad relationship with somebody if it doesn't go the right way, right? I mean, you take somebody out and they're like, oh, wait a second, Sandy, I thought she was the greatest, and I got some issues. Plus, it maybe opens the door for them to challenge a lot more because you are family, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're dealing with?
If I have clients that are like close friends, and they're amazing, you know, but some of the most like opinionated, they want me to like do so much, and I'm like, of course I'm going to do it, but it's because they're like so close, you know.
Mike, do you do business with your family as far as financial planning?
Yeah, I opened up an account for a cousin recently.
Okay.
And you know, he just didn't know what to do. You know, how do you find an advisor? Right. And he felt that he could trust me, which no, but yeah, you know, an advisor is a tough thing. A lot of people. You don't just look in a phone book to find a financial advisor. You got to kick the tires and see if it's.
You got to know somebody, I think, more often, right? You got to kind of like put your ear to the ground. I always say that.
A lot of my business comes from referrals because people want to know, okay, did you lose your money with him? Did he steal your money? I often kid that one of my biggest competitors is Bernie Madoff, a guy who got thrown in jail and is now dead.
Yeah, he didn't have a good track history.
No,
right?
he really didn't. But people don't want to invest with a Bernie Madoff. And Mike, how are you not him? And well, I kind of explain all these things. So.
I think that's a kind of in reference to me as being a loan officer. You know, you look at, we were the one to blame for the crash.
Yeah.
Because we were the ones that said, oh, don't, you know, lenders, they just want the money and they're just out, and, you know, they don't trust the lender. And I think that's a misconception, because there's good and bad lenders. There's good and bad financial planners.
I think that's true of any industry. There probably are used car salesmen that you can trust.
Right.
I don't know how many, but so it's just, you know, finding somebody who's ethical and willing to do it. You know, in my industry, certifications are very important. The certified financial planner is a big deal.
Right.
You know, it just really comes down to finding someone who you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. So we're going to go and we're going to talk a little bit more on this housing situation that we're talking about.
We do have a question here.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Harry Gill's wondering, wants to know about subprime loans.
Subprime loans have been around. They've just maybe expanded a little bit more, but they've been around.
Coming back? He's asking.
I mean, they never really went away fully. Like stated did.
Yeah.
We really don't have a stated opportunity for that.
And
but
that's good.
Yeah, that was really one of the defining ways of how we crashed back in the mid-2000s. But you look at the other options. You got bank statement programs. You got asset inclusion programs. There's programs where you can go down to like a 580 credit score, even to a 600. There's just a lot of other layers that you have to meet, right? And that's the things people don't understand. There's added layers or overlays that banks have that you have to meet those requirements. Sometimes larger down payment, maybe the rate's higher, maybe you have to have reserves, maybe, you know, there's just a lot of things to go through. So subprime never really went away fully, and they may be expanding portfolios. Like some of these banks might be expanding their portfolio to offer them a little bit more, but a lot of these programs were already around.
Okay.
So yeah. Hopefully that answered his question.
Sure.
So let's go back. So we're going to talk. One other thing I wanted to say is when you look at Las Vegas, we know that Las Vegas is popping, right? We know it's back. You guys feel like the vibe is back here in Las Vegas?
Oh yeah,
right.
It's wonderful.
It's great,
it's
right?
Open and
yeah,
it's
great.
And people are at the South Point winning money.
Now the crazy thing is this: I just saw this statistic today that said we dropped 50 spots for our unemployment rate, which is not good news, you know. And unemployment, we went to like 137, which means that
137 out of.
I don't know what the number is.
What is the ranking?
I don't know.
Cities or
cities? Yeah.
Okay.
And so we dropped. So I'm assuming they're saying that we have a higher unemployment rate than other cities.
So what that probably means is other cities have been putting people back to work a lot
quicker. And maybe we're just sitting around because we're getting that paycheck still. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. What is the reason for that? Why do you think?
September?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, because then that they're not. I don't know if they're going to stop it completely, but that additional $300 that was given out to people because they gave you unemployment, then they gave you an additional $300. I think that additional $300 is going to stop. So I think, but it's interesting to see that are people really motivated to go back to work, right? Are they getting a higher pay staying at home? And I don't know. That's just.
Well, I did have a few friends that actually told me that they're making more money at home rather than going back to work. So they're not going back to work just because of that, because they're
getting rewarded by staying home, basically.
Correct,
a little bit, right?
And I think that's one of the reasons. If we drop 50 points, that might be one of the reasons. Only because people are getting paid, they're staying home.
Yeah.
And I mean, still money.
Yeah, it's still money. Absolutely.
I can speak on my personal experience.
Sure.
When I got laid off from all 3 jobs last year when the
all 3 jobs. You had 3 at one time?
Yeah.
Wow, what a workhorse.
Boy, she's sweating.
Don't
say it, Mike. Go ahead and say it, Mike. Go. No, just
no, yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyone watches. I got laid off from the pandemic, obviously, and started filing unemployment. So just in that process, there's a whole thing you have to do to submit everything. And each week they ask you to submit like your track record for applying for jobs. So you don't have to remain unemployed. And I don't know if this is like still a thing, but it was waived. So we didn't have to submit. We weren't applying for jobs because there weren't any jobs because everything was halted from the pandemic. So I don't know if people are actively applying for jobs or if they're on like the unemployment side, if they're like actually auditing that. Because
I mean, the numbers are showing it. I think you're right. They're not actively pursuing jobs. A lot of these people, and you know, our population's growing quite a bit. You know, you see on the 215, they're expanding that. It looks like they're adding an extra lane on each side. A lot of traffic there every time I go home. But that's one of the big, you know, freeways here, the beltway that goes all the way around. So they're expanding that. So what I'm saying is they're obviously looking at the fact that there's maybe more people here. Plus, there's probably an easier opportunity maybe for people to not work. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know where the motivation or less motivation comes for not working. But I can't see that. What about you, Mike?
You know, it's tough to say. I don't know anybody particularly in that position, so I don't know what people are going through.
Sure.
I know there is a lot of, do you? I think there's a lot of people who are reluctant to go back. I think COVID's still freaking people out.
Yeah, it is.
And
I think
so-
that's a contribution. I mean, that's a good point. Maybe COVID, look, even if some people don't believe in
You
it,
wanna
some
go
people
back
do,
and work
whatever
in a
it is.
casino and
Yeah.
handle chips and,
Yeah.
you know, I get it. It's
Equally, the amount of people that say that they're going to get the shot, there's another half of that percentage, like 50% that says, I'm not going to get it.
right.
And I don't know, maybe some people are like, you know what, I'm scared of it. And some people don't care. They don't even think about it on a daily basis. So everybody's different, man. But maybe that is contribution to that.
I don't think people are actually applying for jobs. I mean, somebody told me yesterday, Sunday, they were going in Monday to apply for a job. They showed up late to the interview. Once they
Whoa.
got at the interview, they gave them the resume and they had the interview. And the person running the interview actually told them, "Do you want to start today?" Person actually went, not expecting to get hired.
Oh my gosh.
He got hired, and then automatically they told him, "Can you start now?" He's like, "No, I'll see you tomorrow at 7 a.m."
Wow.
Yeah.
He walks in, he's like, all right, here's my resume. You want to work today? Who, me?
yeah.
Me?
I'm like,
It's like, come on, man. You got to start work, man. You got to get
Right.
going.
I don't think people are actually applying for jobs, only because I do think they're getting compensated for not going into work yet.
It's possible.
yeah.
So let's go back to, if you guys are just tuning in, this is the French Workbench Podcast. We're talking financing. We're talking real estate. And if you guys have any questions, call in to the studio here, 702-557-6176. We can answer all your questions. Also, we have a financial planner here and a credit services rep here. So we got a lot of people here that can maybe answer those questions that you might have.
And if we don't know the answers, we'll make one up.
You'll make one up.
Or
So
we'll
let's
Google them.
you'll Google them, right? At the same time.
We have the Google here.
So let's go back. Let's talk about Las Vegas has odds stacked against it. And we're talking about housing right now. And there's a lot of investors that are coming in. We're talking big investors. We had Blackstone come in and they purchased a ton of properties. And I think the mindset is, and you could talk to me about this, is that they're buying these homes because they want to sustain these homes long term, because the average person cannot find a home out there and they can't buy a home because prices are so high. The average median price home right now is, I think, $395. And they're talking about it going up to maybe next year to $450, right?
Yeah.
Before all this
That's
thing
just
starts to
nuts.
stop. And so these investors are buying these properties because they want to keep long-term renters. What did you know about this?
Well, they are buying properties only to keep long-term renters. Like you said, properties right now, they're at $390, you said.
Wow.
Or the people who buy homes here in Nevada or in Las Vegas or the service industry, they're making 30, 40 grand a year, which means they're only able to buy a house between 280 to 350. Now, those homes are up at the 390, makes it real hard for them to be able to purchase a home, only because they don't make enough money. Not only that, they also took a big hit because they, like you said, they stopped working, and that took a lot into consideration into it. So their only option is to actually rent. That's really the only alternative that they're getting.
So they're trying to strong arm people into renting. And you know what? If you're thinking about buying a house, prices are going to inflate so much. Those average buyers, I mean, you're looking at a price point, like you said, $395, Sandy. These people are in a challenge right now, right?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are fighting, and those are the ones that they're trying to figure out how to get into a house
Yeah.
and probably doing things that they normally don't do. Is that right? Are you dealing with that? Like people that are around 400,000?
What do you mean they don't normally do?
Well, they don't normally
Naughty
probably.
things?
Well, no, they just go into a property and they're like, okay, I want to. They don't normally maybe put down the extra money, put down extra
I
things.
see
They
what
don't normally like,
Oh.
I'm going to, do everything that the seller wants me to do. I think
Oh,
that's, and I think that they lose a lot of their opportunity in buying a home. Maybe it's not fun anymore.
There's no, you can't, it's just a clean offer or nothing.
Yeah, and with so many other offers, golly, it just
Everyone's
It'd be an
coming in.
emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
It was extremely disheartening.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, how do you feel when your offer's rejected and you'd already fallen in love with that house? You got to break up with it now.
Right.
It had the unicorn floaty
It had
in the pool.
I'll buy you.
Was that a
unicorn
sign?
float.
I thought it was like if you see a unicorn floating in a pool, is it a unicorn?
It was
Oh, it was
like
a floaty, right?
Yeah, it was a floaty.
You see
So
that in a
there-
pool. Were you a unicorn girl when you were growing up?
No, not really.
No?
No, I was a tomboy.
Really?
Like sports.
So
yeah.
how did the unicorn, how was that assigned to you that was your house? Like, I'm curious.
It was just so like serene looking, and that's like what I look for. And it had real grass.
So it used to be that you'd bake cookies when people would walk in. So now you put a unicorn floaty in the pool.
So you
That's
picture
the key.
yourself laying out
There
on
you
it.
are.
Oh yeah. And then we picture, because we have 2 dogs, so we were like, our dogs are gonna love the real grass because they like to roll around in it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like
Everybody does.
Yeah. They do.
I do too.
barefoot and real grass is kind of like the thing.
the
And that's
deal.
pretty, I mean, it's pretty unique in Vegas because a lot of people like that desert landscaping and turf, very low maintenance. We have turf in the home we live in now, and it's just low maintenance.
So going back, so we're looking at investors, right? And we're talking about how people may be pushed out of this market even further. You go back to last year, August of 2020, almost a year, 70% chance they said that we're going to have a collapse or we're going to have a crash. You go back a year, we're up $90,000 from what the median price point was last year to today.
Well, those experts weren't right.
No, and look, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be looking at this, but the problem is there's so many moving parts to try to figure out when this crash or if a crash is going to happen. It's hard to predict, and I think a lot of people want this to happen. Now they're talking that, I mean, we appreciated 7.1%. Now they're talking that we're going to 450. Who do you think out there, and you are in the market too, who do you think out there is going to be able to buy a home at 450? Maybe out-of-state buyers, but that market's tough, right?
I think people who traditionally could afford more are going to start looking in that lower range so that they can know that they're going to come out of pocket to cover the spread. Or if they're paying cash, then whatever they want to do.
That mortgage right there, if you
Yeah.
had to get a mortgage, let's say you're putting 5% down, it's a conventional loan. You're probably looking at about a $2,500 to $3,000 payment,
Yeah.
right? Depending on credit, depending on if you have an HOA. That's a big payment. That means that you as a household income have to probably make at least $6,000. That's just if you had no debt. So let's say the average American has debt, right? Maybe they got a couple $1,000. You're going to probably have to make about $8,000, $9,000 to be okay with that.
But in taxes, you don't have to pay as much. So that's something I've been looking at as well in like where we're looking to buy. It's like
Explain what you mean by you don't have to pay much in taxes.
in comparison to where I grew up in Chicago.
Oh, I see. So state to state.
Yeah. So
Property
if
tax, income
if
tax.
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
Sure.
comparing Vegas or anywhere else like Utah, Arizona, Texas, the state or the property taxes aren't as high, and you don't pay the state tax. So literally, like, you're doing okay.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's one of the big driving forces behind coming to Las Vegas. But I mean, again, you go back, if you're buying a house in today's world, you might not be able to buy a home or the same home, obviously, in the next year or 2 years. So are you going to be turned into a renter? Like, are you that person, if you're living here and let's say you're looking for a place, we already know that rents are going up. We already know that it's hard to find a place to rent at this time. And is it going to become more scarce? And you know what? I think these hedge fund investors and these investors that are buying all these properties, they want to control the market, and they're hoping for that. Don't you think so?
I don't know if they're really trying to control the market or if they're just looking for cash flow. You buy a rental property and you pay cash for it. Now you've just got an income stream coming in.
Yeah, but what is the return on investment
I
for
wanna
that?
do.
What is, like, you got to look at the returns. Like, there's got to be a certain cap on how much you get on
So
return
if-
before I'm
So
just
that's
going to
when
say,
you come to Sandy and you ask for that information.
Okay, Sandy, so how much money?
Oh, I'm
do
not
you-
going to do it right
Oh,
now.
not to-
That's like stuff
but you got the
I
calculation,
have to
right?
put in the computer. Yeah.
I got you.
It'd
I mean,
be interesting to see what kind of cash flow you get on a $400,000 house.
And that's it's definitely something I can provide for anyone interested in investing.
It's hard for me to believe that it's only about invest. Like obviously they think that the market's going to continue to go up. They wouldn't be investing this money in this market. I mean, you look at 450 median price point, and they're looking at more properties, and there's no sign of it stopping. And we've appreciated during a time that experts said that we were going to actually fail. We are going to have a crash. Did not happen. Appreciated 7%. I don't see where they feel that there's ever going to be a point where there's a problem. So I don't see how they are buying these properties with saying, well, it's going to be a return, and that's what we're looking for. Because how much of a return are they really getting from some of these properties?
I don't think they're getting a big return, to be honest. I mean, long term, if they keep those properties long term, they'll get a return. Yeah. But I mean, based on the market, I speak to a lot of loan officers and realtors.
Sure.
Currently, they all say about the same thing. The market's not going to drop. They don't see the market dropping anytime soon. They see it staying steady for the next year and a half to 2 years. Also, this investors who's currently buying homes, it's no longer the people here in Vegas. The people buying homes are people from coming in from California, where they sell a home, make 800, 900 grand. They come here, then they're able to buy 2 homes. One pays for itself, just in renters. The other one, they get to live in. So I don't necessarily think they're trying to control the market, but they're definitely...
You're right. I don't know if they're controlling the market, but I just feel that there's got to be an incentive, and maybe it's a long-term goal or a long-term plan that they're looking at long-term rents, and maybe the price and the valley here in Las Vegas is not going to have a huge recession or regression in homes. So I would see that they would continue. They probably have a lot of investor confidence, not consumer confidence, but investor confidence to buy these homes, right? I mean, Correct. You're thinking long-term, I got to get some type of cap or some type of return. But again, I think what it's doing is it's going to push more people to rent because, let's be honest, I mean, can the average person here, even moving from out of state, at some point, is it going to get too high for even out of state buyers? You know, they got to be able to sustain these payments. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that work from home, but are they going to be able to sustain a $3,000 or $4,000 mortgage, right?
Yeah. I think most people coming in from out of state are buying the house as cash, which really isn't. They don't have to worry about anything other than bills and property taxes. So most of these people coming in from out of state, I mean, I've talked to a couple of them. They need either 10, 15, 20 points. I help them with that. But, some of them are literally getting a loan for 20, 30 grand.
Yeah.
And they're not even getting a mortgage loan. They're getting a small personal loan just because they needed that extra money to finish buying the house completely cash.
So, Dan, I just kind of ran a rental scenario here on a house. It's about $400,000, and they're getting about according to Zillow, these are all Zillow numbers, or whatever that's worth. Right. But it's about 5.5%.
Is it a Zestimate?
It's a this is estimate, yes. But it'd be roughly about 5.5% cash flow on that.
Yeah,
cap, right?
which I think it's there. I mean, maybe if you buy it in bulk, but it's not like a huge returns. But
I mean, that honestly, for real estate, that wouldn't excite me. 5.5%. I can
long term.
If people are thinking about that long term, you got to think about retirement. They sell the house, they can get all that money. You're able to retire.
Yeah, but do investors really think long term? Is that the thing? Do they think like, well, I'm in it?
You should with real estate.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of times they're looking to flip these homes, right? They're buying them, keeping them, and getting a certain percentage. And once they get the offer that they're looking for, they sell. Is that not typically?
Yeah, it is. But I do think they're getting a bigger return, even if they rent. So big investors, they're looking to rent those houses, those condos.
Sure.
Rents, they're trying to rank those ranks up. So, I mean, they're getting a big return, even if it's month to month. If a year ago, the rents were $800, now they'll bring them up to $1,200, $1,300. I mean, we're talking about $500 per unit. Let's say big condos, about 135 units.
Yeah.
It's quite some money.
Sandy, you deal with a lot of investors that come in and they're like, I want 30, 40 properties.
Yeah.
Hook me up.
A lot of those multi-unit people are looking for that.
Yeah.
They want that in long-term investment, but to be able to rent it out and control it and you own it and then get it paid off and then it's just straight passive income for the rest of your life.
Well, you got to qualify too on the flow. I mean, the bank gives you a loan. Like, let's say if you needed a loan and it's not cash, it's got a cash produce or cash flow, right? You can't just go get a 30 or 40 unit building and think, well, I'm just going to buy it and it's good. No, I mean, you can't just qualify. It's got to have a cash flow and it's got to have a certain amount of cash that it's been producing. And it's always a plus to have the tenants in there and they stay there, right? I mean,
there is risk to it.
Sure, and the banks always want to know, okay, you know, I think they look at how many vacancies could happen. Say, you know, you've got 4 or 5 out of the 30 are vacant. Now what do? Can you still afford to make the payment?
Right.
That is definitely something.
Right now, I don't think having vacancy is going to be a problem because it's hard to find a place to rent, period.
Yeah, but I don't know. Do banks care? I mean, do
banks just care about profit, man, risk and profit. They don't really care. Honestly, when people look at it and they're like, well, why am I getting this rate? Why am I getting this? Why am I getting it? Like this guy's talking about a subprime loan, right? Risk and profit. You know, whatever the risk is, they're going to profit more on it. And I think that's the same with investors. They're looking at what is the cash flow? What is the risk? You know, banks are doing the same thing. What is the risk? What's the profit they're going to receive from this investment? So, but you look at the whole picture of this valley and you look at where this market's headed. It's not just single family residence. I know you talked about unit buildings, condos. You said townhomes, right? Are a lot of those are where they're buying those properties? Is that correct?
It is. They're buying them, and most of them are renting them. I've seen most people just rent them. They're keeping them long term. Yeah.
So when somebody comes in as an investor for you, Sandy, do they like, hey, this is my spot. I'm looking for a 4-unit, a 2-plex, 4-plex. Like really, where are those at? I think they're down like what, east side, something like that, North Las Vegas, and there's like built in the 70s.
Do you guys know what that new complex being built on the south end of Vegas is? Because I live over there by the casino.
Okay.
And I forget the name. It begins with an A, I think. But they're building this like huge, like kind of like a panorama style, like condos and big complex. So that's up and coming. So things like that, I feel like they're building a lot more of those style multi-unit condos, like hundreds of condos.
Again, I think this is something to be concerning a little bit for people that are trying to buy a home, especially if they see markets continuing to rise like this. And unfortunately, I think if people are renting, you might be a renter. And unfortunately, you got no shot. And I'm not saying that you can't buy a home, but unless you're willing to go outside the box or willing to take whatever the seller's willing to give you, you might not be able to buy a home, you know, and that's unfortunate. That's the market we're in, you know, and I see, you know, I don't see any stoppage. I do see maybe a slowing of appreciation in homes, but we looked at it, and we're going to talk about this with Sandy later, but we have a lot of data here that shows properties are starting to open up, which we thought that would actually level out the market a little bit, but yet we're still seeing properties.
Well, the month supply we just looked at is 2.1.
Yeah, we'll talk. So. Yeah, I'm going to go over this with you in a second. I want to, and so Sandy's going to be the weather girl. She's going to, she's going to give us all. Hey, do you predict rain in the future?
That's what I want. So I love when it rains.
We need rain.
I want it to rain
at some point.
It was thundering.
We need some rain.
It was thundering a few hours ago, and I saw like a cloud coming in. I was like,
oh my gosh.
I walked outside and I was like, I got a drop on my face. I was like, what's that?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that in a while.
That was a rainstorm.
You guys should have seen me last night, like running out, putting my garbage cans out because Monday's trash day.
Oh, okay.
But it was storming, so I'm like running and like I had my like hoodie on and
you had your hoodie on?
I was getting soaked, like blown away from the storm because I forgot, and I was like, oh my god.
You should have got an umbrella.
I don't own an umbrella.
You have to have an umbrella in Vegas, always at the door because it rains so often here.
Right?
I don't have one.
I don't own one either.
Yeah. No snow scraper and no umbrella.
All right, let's go over and talk about new homes.
Do you want me to show some things?
No. What?
Oh, I'm not weather girl yet? New homes, okay.
Not yet, but stay tuned.
Yeah.
We'll have you show some stuff. No, I was going to say that I wanted to talk to you about new homes, and I wanted to talk to you about what's going on in the new homes market right now. So you look at new homes, and you're looking at people going in and buying these new homes. Literally, they got 6 lots or 3 lots to offer, right? Yeah. And it's like, there's nothing. And so materials are still increasing, even though lumber dropped, 40%, Mike? Is that right? It was a droppage of 40%?
That's what I heard, 40%. I mean, in a month, that's amazing, but it's still 60% higher than it was last year.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and so I think it's crazy because you look at how everybody was paying attention to this, and they're saying, well, once this comes down, homes are going to be available because that means that there's more materials, construction's there, labor's there, but yet the market is still looking at higher costs for builders. I'm sure they're transferring that cost to consumers. And so it's not, their costs doesn't look like it's dropped off at all. Maybe a little bit with the lumber, but I thought it would be a bigger difference. And this is really contributing, I think, to a lot of problems with builders and people trying to get into a home. What do you see? I mean, you see the same thing. You deal with people that go to new homes all the time.
Yeah.
Are there just not a lot of lots still? There's a lot of problems going there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do think that even though materials have, become more accessible, and obviously labor, is back building, so they still can't build faster. They're going at about the pace that they can, and like you said, they're only releasing 3 to 6 lots per lot release. And then on top of that, people have their name in the pot, selection.
Is that still going on, a lottery thing?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, because look, there are so many, it's like
So who's getting this accepted where it's like, okay, I'm going to be 6,000, 8,000, 20,000. Like, what is that price point for a new home to get accepted at this point?
That's the gamble that you take because lot premiums are on the rise. Each lot release, it varies.
Is a lot premium a scam? I mean, I feel like what is the difference between a month or 2 months ago for that lot versus now? And I'm not saying it's a scam, but they're utilizing their leverage.
Right.
What they're doing is saying, look, we know that properties aren't here. We know that we're the person out there, or not, I wouldn't say the person, but everybody wants a home, right? And they know that they can come to us typically to get it.
Yeah.
So we're going to charge you a premium. And is that premium really something that's valid that says, yeah, I can justify a month or 2 months ago that this lot premium is now significantly higher, right?
Yeah. And elevation premium too. I was taking some clients to new homes in Summerlin, and the next street up, the price increases like $20,000, and then it keeps going because obviously it's a little more. There are some mountains up there, and you're kind of higher up on the hill, so it's like in addition to lot premium, you're looking at all these extra fees that you're going to be paying on top of what the cost of the home is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you think you can afford something, and that's not even including upgrades, because obviously we walk into the model and we're like, check all the boxes, like just.
Well, I think a builder's making a ton of money, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're paying for a premium. So look, I get it. If you're coming out here and you want to buy a house, that might be the easiest path to resistance on getting a home, because if you're going after an existing home, we know that the total inventory or the days on the market is down. It's like, we'll talk about it later, but it's like 12 days. Mm-hmm. And you said there's about a 2-month supply. What does that say to us? It says that inventory is increasing, which means hopefully there's more options, right?
Right.
Maybe it'll start pulling some of these things back from the builder standpoint, because now the builder has to compete. There's nothing to compete right now. Who's competing against them?
Yeah. We got a question here from MB, thinking of buying a condo. Do you think they should wait a few months for the lumber prices to actually price into the market?
Sandy, I want you to answer that question. You don't want to answer that question?
No, I don't think they should wait.
Oh, yeah.
If they wait, it's going to continue to rise in value, and they're just going to, why would you want to pay more to wait 2 months?
Well, you got to look at the question, like, as far as the lumber side of it. I don't think.
Are you looking for new? Obviously, they're looking for new. If we're talking about lumber prices.
I think if you look at the lumber, right, and I'm going to kind of piggyback what you said. So you said it right. It's more about, if you look at the lumber cost and has it made an impact, what we just talked about, on the actual cost or overall cost for a builder. It hasn't. It's not helped them in any way. So they're not going to help you. So the problem is as long as consumer confidence is there, and as long as builders, their costs are still going up or stay the same, they're not going to give you a better deal. And so I would buy now. I would definitely agree with you, because if you want to wait a year and a half, maybe see if something changes at that point, maybe a year. But I mean, all signs are going up, and I don't think there's nothing derailing the builders right now.
This is what I think. The lumber and the house building are two different things. The lumber, I think it only went down because there isn't as many people at homes. People were buying lumber to build either new fences, to build tree houses.
Sure.
So with more people going back to work, doesn't mean that it means that the lumber supply will decrease.
They're not going to Lowe's so much.
Correct. But people building the houses, they're still they're still backed up, which means if they have 30 people working on a house, they're still going to have the same amount of people, which is why houses the price on homes hasn't dropped on new homes, only because the same amount of people are still working on them. Lumber price might have dropped, but the person building the homes still backed up 30, 40 houses. So there's still a lot of people wanting to buy new houses.
I think in contribution to what you said too is that there's a lot of people out there that are contractors that probably are journeymen that do a very good job. They have a specific craft or a specific field that they're in. And I'm not saying that they're not back to work, but maybe some of them are not back to work. Maybe they don't have the workforce that's needed. Maybe something where builders are like, hey, you know what? We don't have the laborers, or the cost of materials are going up, and then the labor is not there. So, man, we're losing out on both sides. And so what do we do at this point? Do we just transfer the cost to the consumer? Maybe that's what they're doing.
Well, another thing to keep in mind is like gas prices. Every time there's something happens,
Right.
OPEC has a meeting, gas prices go up real quick. And then, it wasn't as big a price increase as we thought. And then it'll slowly trickle back down to the market price.
Yeah.
And it could be something like that it'll slowly trickle back. The housing prices will slowly trickle back as lumber prices come back. And it could just take time. It could take 6 months before we see a real price correction.
Yeah, I mean, you look at lumber, and I think I was like really focusing on that because I was like, well, that's probably one of the biggest products that, or one of the biggest materials that a builder buys, right? Obviously, because you see how these homes are built. So you're thinking, well, if that's coming down now, guess what? We're not going to be, all these premiums and all this extra costs and over costs. But yet they know that these people are coming here to Las Vegas and they're willing to spend, a lot of them from California, a lot of them East Coast, they're willing to spend a lot more money, a significant amount more money than what the list price is just to get that premium. And so they can get away with it. And it is what it is, but builders are going to keep making money over fist. And I can tell you that you look at what they're doing with realtors and also the incentives they're offering to some of these lenders out there, or I'm sorry, not to the lenders, but the clients out there, the incentives to use their lender, they're not there. And they're taking them away. Why? Because competition is not there. They don't need to. And so guess what? You bring me your client, okay, I'll give you $500. Guess what? If you want to use our lender, we'll give you a transaction fee, or we'll give you a, right?
Yeah.
It's an umbrella.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, what's the incentive? Well, we want to control everything, but they know it. Their costs are going up, but they know it. They're still trying to profit. You look at it. They got insurance companies now. Like, what does a builder not have? It's like they control A to Z, right? So what do they not have? So you look at the builder's standpoint. I get it. We do need properties and we do need materials to come down because I think, and also in contribution to that, we also need rates to tick up a little bit. I know everybody's like, oh no, don't have rates go up. We need a healthy, balanced market.
Yes,
That's what we need. We don't need something where it's just in one area, it's going crazy and the other area is suffering.
And the
that's
Fed
the
has
problem.
signaled a rate increase probably next year.
Yeah. And so let's talk with Sandy. Sandy's our weather real estate girl, I guess, right? And she's going to talk to us about what's going on in the housing market. I want to give me an update. Tell people out there what they want to hear that's going to help them pursue buying a home. So you got the floor here, Sandy. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to show what we see on our end as realtors.
Why are you showing me on this picture?
I'm showing all of us
there.
here. You're seeing everybody.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
I'm not weather girl.
You're weather girl. We're weather team.
Weather team.
Go ahead.
All right. Well,
go ahead.
Team
So
up.
let's go over this. So where do you want to go with, Sandy?
Well, what are we on right now? Homes for sale.
Homes for sale. Let's do this really
Homes
quick.
for sale.
Where is
So,
that? Okay.
We're currently
As
on
you
home
can
for
see,
sale.
What is that number right there, Sandy?
7488
Wow.
is the entire MLS of homes for sale, including residential, multifamily, etc. Everything on there is what's for sale.
Okay. That's allowed. That's
so you
increasing,
can click
right?
on month supply, and
Let's
that
look
will
at the
just
month
show
supply.
you how. But look at this chart.
It's decreasing.
I mean, it has been.
Well, it's been decreasing. Look at this is what we saw in the 2019. Everybody said the peak was like around where the market was increasing around 2018. If you look at 2018, you just see nothing but growth, right?
Right.
And then you get here and you see nothing but decrease, and it's been decreasing. Now, the solid part of it is that we haven't gone further than this, but I mean, it doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. But again, I mean, it's the cards we're dealt, right? I mean, you got to deal with what you got to deal with. So, but I could say 2 months supply is decent. We really need, I would say 6 months supply to be healthy, right? To be a healthy
4
market.
to 5
Yeah,
months.
4 to 5 months.
4 to 5 months, right? So, let's go to days on the market, right? So tell us what's going on with this.
So this is saying the average days on market is 12.
Wow.
And that saying, I mean, that makes sense. Even from the offer that we submitted last week, it's already off the market. Like they listed it literally in like less than 2 weeks. It was off the market.
Wow.
So what that's saying is, things are moving quick. If you're in the position to buy, you should be, getting your pre-approval done.
Right.
With Dan.
The
loan guru.
The loan guru. That's right. But I mean,
getting your ducks in a row with Mike.
Yeah.
Financially.
Yes.
Checking your credit,
with Tony.
With Tony. And then talking to Sandy when you're ready, when all of your steps are taken, and then we can go look at homes. But it's not, you're kind of gambling that the home that you love is going to be on the market after 12 days.
So 12 days, I mean, honestly, that's not very long. I mean, what's a normal market? If you say that this is 12 days, do you know what a normal market would be? I mean, I would say, obviously you don't want to have a house
sit
30 or 45 days. Then people are going to say, well, what's going on
why
here?
Is it sitting?
Well,
why is it sitting?
2020, it was close to 30 days.
It was close to 30 days. So, I mean, again, I don't know if this number is like really jumping out to me, like I'm scared about this, but you know what I mean? I think it's decent, but it's interesting to see that 12 days on the market. I've seen hours on the market with some of these properties,
too.
right? I mean, you literally,
scary.
you put them on the market and it's like,
wow.
I've literally been in a home showing it.
Yeah.
And the listing agent's like, hey, we just got an offer submitted. Like, can you guys leave? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this home just came on the market today. I'm like, what? Okay.
Wow.
So let's jump over to, let's go to homes for sale. Okay. So you got homes for sale, and this is right from the MLS. So this is listed homes, or is this homes for sale?
Homes for sale. The other thing.
What's newly listed versus homes for sale? Can you explain that?
New listings are just what's been coming on.
What's been listed, right?
Yeah. For the
new listed for this month of June?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty good. 7,700 for June. Is that right?
57?
57.
Oh, 57. Where you guys see that at?
On there?
57,704.
Oh, I think it says 7,704, but that's just me. I think that's a dollar sign. Oh, is it 57? No, that's not 50. Oh, it is 57. My eyes are bad.
Right. You can also you can jump over
TV,
to
man.
sales
Come on.
price.
I know,
to
right?
Show everyone the median sales price.
Okay, so the average median price is well.
This isn't. I mean.
This is for all of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and this is all property types.
Yeah.
So if
you go to single
if you do the
family,
median,
right?
If you do median with multifamily, like
let's
just
do. There we go. So look, you go to single family. Look at that.
355. Yeah.
I know it's increased to 395. I know I got some sources out there that are telling me that it's even going higher.
Got sources.
I got sources.
Dude.
I got people.
You should click on foreclosure right over there.
Foreclosures? There's probably none, right? What is this?
What you can buy it.
Oh, it's an average price for a foreclosure is 347,000. That's not bad. Let's go back to
It's not that much less than what you're paying for a
not really,
house.
not really. And
You
that's
just deal with a lot more. With
yeah.
the
Let's
bank.
look at the close.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Let's look at the close sales. So
I'm not trying to do that.
what is this right here, Sandy? Is this all we had for close sales for single family
for
residents?
the month of June.
Wow, 92 homes.
But I think that's
Yeah,
on
but-
foreclosure still, no?
Oh wait, that is on foreclosures. Hold on, let's take that
All
off.
seller types.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do this. Now let's
now
go back.
it went up. Nice.
Now it went up. I was like, wait a second.
Oh, we can affect the market here.
Wow.
That is cool.
Well, it takes about
There we go.
40 days to close.
Okay,
So this could be from May. Could be from
38,000. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
that is a lot.
I mean, look how fast things are moving.
that.
Well, look
looks
at this.
Good.
Look at this graph, though.
It
I mean,
looks
it is.
good.
it's on
It
the
looks-
uptick, right? So I
like-
think that's good, right? Closed sales.
Homes are definitely selling.
Look at
So-
pending sales. So pending sales here is up. 37,000.
So that's everything under contract.
That's everything under contract. So that's good numbers. Look, I'd rather be here than I would be obviously here. So look at that.
Well, it
That
depends
was
if you're
May.
buying or selling.
May of 2020, back when COVID was going on, right? I see we have a lull here, but we're still seeing, pending sales going up. That doesn't mean
but
there's enough inventory.
The problem is when things are going up that much, it's tough for people to be able to buy a house.
Right.
And so that,
You need
as
more of
these
a-
things keep
of a
going
balance.
up,
Right.
then it's driving up house prices. And then, as Tony was saying, the average person earning $40,000, they can only afford $280,000.
Yeah.
So
So to sum all this up, Sandy, kind of give us an understanding. Like this is
we're all
obviously
going to die. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted Sandy. No.
yeah. Tell us like what you tell clients out there when you see this stuff. Like you say, okay, well, we got this. This is good. This is good. Like, do people are like, hey, well, is there options to buy? Do we see properties on the market?
Yeah, I think it's comforting to show them this information because we're not where we were a few months ago with zero inventory.
Yeah.
And high demand. It's kind of correcting a little bit. And I tell them, like, look, obviously the value is going to keep increasing and appreciating, but you have to also think about resale value, in the future. Like, and long term, if it's going to be a home you're going to be in for a while, few years, 5 years, 10 years, then what is the value to you in that aspect?
Anything else on this that you guys want to look at, or what you guys
Let's bring
want?
up the month supply graph.
Well, the month supply we had it at 2.1
Yeah, so that keeps
or
trending
1.8.
downwards.
1.8. So that's about
That's
2 months,
single
right?
family, yeah.
Single family. So the 2.1 was all the properties.
All properties,
but
including
the single
condos,
family.
yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, believe it or not, they want to buy condos because there's opportunity with a cheaper cost
Cash
for
flow
condos.
or
investment.
I'm
those
gonna
are
do that.
Great investments.
You're going to buy it. But there's a lot of people that can't buy a single family residence home because of the cost.
Sure.
So
yeah.
this is the other alternative. The problem with that is that when you go in back in the day when we had the crash, these condos were the ones that first went, right? They're the ones that were let go first. So they had a lot of litigation. They have a lot of restrictions, and not all of them. I mean, a lot of it's come out of being in that position. But you got, we talked about other things too back in the mid 2000s, which high-tech plumbing. You guys talked about high-tech plumbing, right?
I had
and
an
that
issue
was
with that in a rental.
yeah, and that's something that people have to look at too, out of buying into this market. But I think a lot of that high-tech plumbing, they just took the money, right? They didn't actually get the stuff replaced. They got
And then they
here's
sell
a
the
check.
house and it's someone else's problem.
Yeah, it's like, so I don't know, man. I think that there's a lot of opportunity here, but it's like pick your spots.
Yeah.
1.8 on the market is pretty good though, I think, for single family residents. I know that's increasing, right? Is that
It seems like, I mean, looking at this chart, it seems
It
like it's
doesn't look
not.
like it?
But I can sense a lot more action in the real estate market.
Is it consumer confidence is there and people are willing to list their home and then they're getting back to work, and so
Yeah.
they're kind of getting that mindset, because I think people want to know, if I'm back to work, can I even pay for a mortgage, right? Or if I
Yeah.
leave this home and sell it, can I buy another home and have
Right.
and still afford the new mortgage that's on the house if you're upgrading? I think that's the biggest question that people have.
Yeah.
We got another question here from MB. What are your thoughts on buying a property early before the development is complete? Is it a good investment? What do you think?
As of new build?
Well, so in a development, say you're one of the first buyers in there.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to sit there for a year or so while all the
I
construction's
think
going
so.
on.
Yeah,
No?
I think so. I mean, look, in this market, if consumer confidence is there, like I got people, we have people we know that purchased new homes. Are you overpaying for it? Sure, you could be, but then you look at the appreciation in it, and there's $50,000 this person has in equity in their home because it took them 6-7 months to complete. So yeah, you might be overpaying, and you see it as it is an investment. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get that return on every location? No, I mean, it's got to be desired, but there could be a return on that, and you might be walking into a situation where you created equity as you're waiting for this thing to be built.
Right. I think the only negative to buying a property before the development is really complete is just you're going to have to deal with the construction and, probably get a few flat tires and things
Sure.
like that. But, if it's what it takes to buy a house these days, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think over here? Do you think buying a home right now, if it's a new home, that you got a lot of people that you talk to, are they willing to buy to get that appreciation, or thinking about getting that appreciation as an investment.
Definitely, I do believe that. I was speaking to somebody this morning, and they've made 15 grand on it. I'm just waiting for it to be built. They already made 15 grand on it. I mean, obviously they're living in the house, but the price of the home.
What happens though if consumer confidence fails, right? And let's say we don't go through a recession, but let's say it stops and you bought the home and now you're like, well, I don't see the appreciation. I don't think people should be upset, but you know what I mean? This is more like a cherry on the top is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I never look at your own personal home as an investment.
Right.
Okay, it's a place to live, to have families, make memories, that type of stuff. And if you make money on it when you sell it, awesome. If you don't,
right,
hopefully you really enjoyed living there.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in that case where that person's house appreciated 15%, hey, that's awesome, that's great, but it's not money in the bank because, you know, it's just a random number on a piece of paper, you know, what the house is worth.
Correct.
A house is only worth what somebody actually writes you a check for.
Well, it's just like appraisals. You go back and everybody's like, well, what if I wanted that house and the appraiser comes back and says it's less than value? The bank's can obviously go off that, but I hate to say this, my opinion would be it's really what somebody's willing to pay for it. Now, they're willing to pay for above it, obviously for the, but let's say that you're a person out there and we're in this market now. You got 5% to put down. You got a little bit of cash stashed away.
Sure.
And you're like, well, I'm willing to pay $350 for this house, but if the appraisal comes in at $320, am I willing to pay that extra $30,000? Probably not, right?
Well,
so that's where the appraisal part really kind of screws everything up.
Well, we got another question here. Boy, the chat room's just knocking it out of the park today. What about entering into a contract and the market goes down in 8 months and the house doesn't appraise for what the sales price is? So I'm not exactly sure how that works. Maybe you can answer that.
Explain what the...
So you enter into a contract to buy a house. So you're buying a house for $350,000. Don't you have to have all your lending and all that stuff in place even before the house is complete?
Typically, yeah. But I mean, is the question about the financing or
so
is it,
what
is
they're
it about
saying
the investment?
is when the house is finished and the market goes down,
well, it's like
is that going to affect your
it's like
ability
a new car.
to get the house?
As soon as you
is
buy
that going to...
does it? No, because you're under contract. You know, obviously what you...
Well, you'll still be able to get the mortgage, right?
Well, but you got to look at it from an appraiser standpoint. They're going to go out there and appraise the property, and the builder pretty much knows what's going on with the market as well. I mean, it would have to drop significantly for something like that to happen. But typically, the appraiser goes out and appraises the market. Something catastrophic would have to happen for that to be declining like that, or a huge amount, right?
Sure.
So again, you can always say, well, let's say it depreciated a small percentage. Let's say it's less, $5,000 less. I'm sure that if here's the deal, if you're a builder out there and we've had this happen and your appraisal comes in lower, we've seen it, you have to cover the difference. So unfortunately, you're going to have to come in as a consumer. If it does come to that, you're going to have to pay the difference. And there's been people that don't like that. They don't want to come in. I had one, $500,000, right? And we're like, okay, that's what the appraisal was. Well, with the upgrades and everything you put in and all the flutes and whistles, it came into like $527. Guess who had to pay the $27?
Okay.
The client. And you know what? They weren't happy about that. We sent out a new appraisal, a final inspection. No, still $500. Even though some of the areas, they're going to look at like values and properties that are like that specific property. They're not going to just say, well, that property over there, it's bigger and it's sold for, $550. We're going to give you the $550. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to look at like properties that are similar properties and they're going to go off that. If they don't see the value, they're not going to increase it. And you as the consumer have to pay that difference.
Sure. Well, these are great questions. I appreciate the chat room here.
Going back to that, buying a new house before it's built, 80 to 90% of the people actually buying the house before they're built, they're looking for into moving into those houses. So they're not really thinking about long term. I really believe...
No. I mean, again, I don't think builders are never going to lose money. They're not going to sit here and be like, well, if we give you this house... And they can't afford it. They already got work, man hours and stuff going on, materials, cost, time. They've already, set the lot aside. And they got a lot of things that's happening. They got to get permits, all kinds of stuff that's going on, right? And so you look at the position that they're under, they're really going to pass any situation like that to the consumer, and they're not going to be able to. I have people that are not happy. I've had at least 4 that are new homes that have come in less than value, or the appraisals come in less than what the list price or the final price would be. Wow. Because if you go into contract and it's 500, and then you got another 50,000 in upgrades, it's not 500, it's 550.
Yeah.
Right? And now that property has to appraise for that.
Sure.
And there's not enough wiggle room.
Mm-hmm. Well, running at altitude says a good idea is to ask the sales office what the typical amount of upgrades are, so you're not over upgrading a house and losing out on that appraisal. That's probably a good idea.
I mean, it's a great idea, and I think that's to protect you. And you're covering all bases, right? You're saying, look, how can I be affected? But also the market drives that. Sure. So really, it's how much can you really protect yourself? Now that he's right, you can protect yourself by saying, okay, on the appreciation that we're seeing around here with these upgrades, will I be able to appraise? Now, a lot of people don't understand that. They're not going to go into it going, well, with these upgrades, is this going to appraise? They have no clue on what they're probably thinking about, right? So they're probably going into it going, well, I'm buying everything I want. I want the flutes and whistles. I want this kitchen. I want the French doors and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But guess what? You still have to appraise. And that's the problem. And people come in, sometimes, yes, you can use the money you put for your upgrades and your down payment, but you might have to come an additional amount to cover that cost, because the builder's not going to just suppress that cost. They're not going to say, well, we'll meet you halfway on an existing home, or we're going to lower it to what the real value is. No, you signed a contract. It's $550, pay the $550 or drop out.
Oh.
Good
and
deal.
that's why we should do resale.
Is that why you say we should do resale? So,
I mean, I'm for it.
You're for it? So let's go back. Last questions that you have, or last information you want to provide from this market update, because you did a stellar job today.
Oh, I tried.
You did a great job, and I'm proud
I
of you.
didn't get to do my weather girl thing, but
well, that's later. I mean, you'll be like,
try again.
it's going to be,
I can do it
the
every
green
week.
screen is on order.
Right.
I want to hear from everyone that's tuning in. If you have any questions for us in regard to the information that we're providing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think that a lot of people just want the real information.
Yeah.
They don't want the BS out there. You get a lot of people out there that do these YouTube things, and they're like trying to give you what you want to hear, but we just tell you regardless if it's good or bad. Sometimes it's good to buy a home. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're going to make money.
I can do my little.
Sometimes you're not.
Time.
You're gonna So you guys, any last thoughts on this or no?
Is there another question?
No, but just like as far as what you
Trying
want to
to
tell
read.
people out there. Oh, you got more questions?
Oh, he just said thanks for the info.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Hopefully
sure.
that was good information. What other things do you have to say to everybody out there? Anything? You got anything else to say?
I think just stay positive.
Yeah.
It's the market's gonna balance out at some point, and if you're a buyer out there right now, just stay after it. If you want it bad enough, let's go.
Yeah, I want to answer one other question. So we'll put your information. We'll definitely plug you at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll plug everybody at the end. I want to answer about this. I was just looking at this to answer this question. We're trying to answer all questions today too. So I had a question.
Here's a great one. When will home prices drop?
When will home prices drop and when?
Yes.
I really think they're gonna stay steady.
I don't know if they'll probably level out at some point. I think it's probably going to be more in the mid part of 2022.
Yeah.
I think maybe the second or third quarter. But the problem right now is that we're seeing people come back to work, and you're seeing a lot of people that are have money saved, and the economy's thriving. And so consumer confidence is all-time high. People are going to continue to spend and buy homes, and there's nothing saying that we're going to have a crash at this time. Do I feel that we need to have some type of leveling off? Absolutely. I mean, we can't sustain this. And I feel that if rates go up, everybody always says, well, why do you want rates to go up? It's not because I want them to go up to 6 or 7 or 8%. But when you go back to 2018, 5%, when they hit 5%, everybody was screaming, no, I don't want to. But you know what? You go back and look at the data. That was one of the healthiest markets we had as far as housing. We didn't have any issues. So I think that's going to level off everything that's going on right now, and I think it's going to provide more opportunities.
I agree.
Yeah.
But you go back, and I'm looking at this question right here. and it says, hey, Dan, what is the 30-year VA loan rate if you get a chance? So it's a good question. I mean, VA is a little bit more forgiving. They're not so credit score driven. But if you look at, I'm locking people anywhere from 2.625 to, let's say, 2.875, depending on the switch.
Under 3. That's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
so good, though.
It came back because it was up above 3.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you look at Freddie Mac and you look at what they had on their 30-year fix, it was slightly above 3, 3.25. I even started to see it peak up. Now we did have an alert to lock today, but that doesn't mean that we're losing tons of.
What is alert to lock?
Alert to lock says that the movement in the market is starting to point up direction, meaning
Okay, so you want to lock in your rate.
you want to
today.
lock in your rate. Now,
Okay.
that doesn't mean though we're going to 3%. It just means that if this trend continues, then we may go to 3%. We may go to 3.5%. But right now it's just, hey, guys, investors are doing this. You need to lock your rates in because we don't know if that direction is going to keep continuing to go up.
And where do you get this?
I got many sources. I told you about my sources, man. I got people all
Okay, we
over.
can't talk about that.
Did they tell you what changed in the market?
Yes, I got the crystal ball. I wake up in the morning. I come down to work. I'm going to say, where are rates going today, people? Let me know.
That's why you're the loan guru.
That's right. I sit in here and I got my feet crossed, my legs crossed.
Oh my God.
It's funny, man. So what other questions do we got? Anything else?
No.
Nothing, huh?
It's well, they wanted to know how often you stream.
Oh, I stream. I often stream. We stream Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Yep.
And we have a lot of good information we're putting out. It's not just the same crew, although you guys, everybody
Tuesday
here.
crew.
Yeah, no, but you guys do really put out a good information. I mean, you guys have some nice input, a lot of good content, and I think what people want. They're seeking content. They're seeking information. Who can give me nuggets that I don't know?
Yeah.
Right?
I even learned things here.
There you go.
Holy
Me
cow.
too.
So do I.
This is just
Any
let's
last
sing
thoughts?
Kumbaya.
Sing Kumbaya. Any last thoughts? We're going to end this show. You guys, thank you. And if you guys have any comments, please comment. Show some love to the channel. Please like.
Thumbs up. Come
thumbs
on,
up.
guys.
Give us some thumbs up.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. What else, Mike? Anything?
You know what? Well, I'm going on vacation.
You're going on vacation.
Going back to Minnesota.
Minnesota. You don't
Don't
have
you
the
know?
accent. Doesn't Minnesota?
Yeah.
They have an accent, right?
Oh, you betcha.
I hear it. I definitely hear it.
You ever seen
Yeah,
that movie
I-
Fargo?
Yes. Yeah. I've actually been to Fargo,
Yeah.
and they have a replica of the wood chipper out
Yeah.
in this park. And so we went and saw it. And they have the real wood chipper that was used in the movie in a museum right next to it. But unfortunately, the museum was closed when we were there. But I've got this great picture of my dog sitting on top of the wood chipper, in the basket.
Yeah.
It was fun. So
Well, let's do this. All right, I'm going to finish it off. We're going to plug real quick.
Cameron wants to know what time. Tuesdays usually kind of 6:30. What time Saturdays?
Saturdays is at 10 a.m.
10
We
a.m.
do it early because a lot of people. I got
wanna get out of
realtors.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they got a show. I mean, that's where they make their money. So people come in, they kind of give their take on what's going on and their opinions, and then they're out. And it's usually about an hour. So,
Awesome.
yep. So, anyways, how can somebody get a hold of you, Mike?
Find my website, www.peakfinancialsolutions.com, PEAK financialsolutions.com.
Go there and find Mike. He's got a lot of good information.
I am there.
Mr. Tony Gutierrez, what's going on, buddy? How does somebody find you? Your credit services, right?
Yeah, it's Community Credit Repair. Our number is 702-724-0500.
This guy is a trooper. You know, I had somebody that was supposed to come in, and I understand it's business, but he came in last minute. He's like, man, I'm filling in. I'm going to be here.
Got your
And
back.
He got my back. He's got good content.
Nice.
I like this
Yeah.
guy. He's coming in. Sandy,
Yes.
how does somebody get a hold of you? You're at LV Home Experts, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
it's sandy.lvhomeexperts@gmail.com.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, we're going to be here on Saturday. Go look at some of the past videos we put out. We have a lot of good content. Also, any comments, please give us the comments. We just answered a couple on the last video we put out. And guys, if you have any questions, like I said, let us know. We'll see you guys at the next stream on Saturday. Have a good night. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench Podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.